Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is James, aka the Comic Raider, and we are back with a weekly trade review. As you'll see from the title, I'm gonna go away from the usual Raiders rants about, and I want to acknowledge this challenge that I'm doing of reading every trade that I own. And so I wanted to incorporate that in the title, but I didn't want the title being super long. So we're gonna say goodbye to Raiders rants about for this series. We're gonna make it the reading every trade that I own, and then I'll also be running the read every omnibus that I own challenge, and it'll be fun. It'll be a fun series. I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully, you guys are too. And so we're gonna get started with the next one up in the list. This was Batman Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth, written by Grant Morrison, illustrated by Dave McKean. This is a older copy. You can see like the whole, you don't really have the DC logo. You got this Warner Brooks ad here. So this is from originally published by DC Comics in a hardcover edition November 1989. And this trade in particular is a first printing from April of 1990. So again, releasing a hardcover. This is the first edition of the trade. So it's a little bit older. I know that this has been produced many, many times after, I believe. I know recently in the last year, either an updated trade or hardcover came out, because I can see the cover in my head of that one. So we're going to get into this. Did I like it? Do I recommend it? All that good stuff. So, for those of you who have read this, you're probably eagerly awaiting some thoughts here. I think this is one of those that if you've read it, you want to know what other people think about it, for sure. And more so than other comics that you read. And this one is very interesting. I will say that. I definitely have some recommendations for sure. So, where do we start? Overall, did I like it? Yes. Do I fully understand it? No. I am always going to keep it honest here. And I like to think of myself as an intelligent guy. I'm definitely not ever the smartest in the room, but I'm not the least smartest in the room either. And this one, this is one of those that as soon as I finished, I thought, I'm gonna have to read this again. I didn't read it right now. Like, I only read it the once. I want to give my honest reaction to something. This is so. In case you can't tell, this is one that I have not read before. This is a new one. Death in the Family, the one we did last week, was something I've read many, many times before. This one was brand new. This is my first time ever reading this story. So I didn't want to read it multiple times and then come on here and be like, yeah, it's about this. No, like, I read it. I'm giving you my honest first reaction, and that is that I put it down and went, I'm going to have to revisit this. I'm going to have to go back and reread this to fully comprehend and understand what is going on here. And because it is not necessarily an easy to read book, and it's a lot deeper than most books, especially ones that I'm reading, like Death in the Family and things like that. I'm right now I'm reading a Black Mask kind of compilation, and like, just a lot easier to read stuff. But we're gonna cycle through here. The artwork, number one, is absolutely incredible. This is some of the most unique, coolest art I've seen in a long time, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It works so well for this book. And so you kind of have this story of, it's like almost like an origin of Arkham and how his background and how Arkham Asylum came to be. This is kind of like what that new cover release is that I'm thinking of. Something similar to this. But, you also have, Batman goes to Arkham, Joker's kind of taken over, and the inmates are running the asylum. And so it's Batman basically going through the asylum. I mean, look at that. That is insane. But so good. It's so good. Batman's going through the asylum, and, the idea being that he's going through all of his villain, not all of them, but he's going through many of his rogues gallery, and it just, the artwork is breathtaking for sure, and but that's like the literal bare bones explanation, right? Batman's going through the asylum, Joker's taken over, there's people still in there, and Batman's gonna go up against his villains one by one to get to the point where he can, get out of here. And but again, you also have this Arkham, story being told as well. But the idea here now, is that not supposed to be like Norman Bates right there? And the mother, if you've seen it, you've seen it. I mean, that's gotta be what that is. So again, that's the simplest explanation. The reason why I say the book is confusing or the book is harder to understand is that's the surface level explanation. There is so much more going on. There's this whole, whether the Joker is trying to prove to Batman that he belongs in there is something that I gotta read again to fully get. But I think that's the general idea, is that Batman is just as crazy mentally, his mindset, the way that it operates, the way in which he thinks, why he does what he does, dresses up in a costume as a bat, like all of it is to make the art, make this point of like, you're not that much different than us being like the villains that are stuck in here. You're on the other side of the law, but mentally we're on the same page here. And I hope that I'm getting that part right. But that's the way that I interpret it off of my first read, is like, we're on the same page here. You belong in here just like we belong in here. And so it's him going through these different villains that I believe are to kind of symbolize different, maybe not versions of himself, but different aspects of himself or his mindset or his mentality. And you got Joker, you got Two-Face, you got Killer Croc in here. And so that is my explanation of the story off of the first read. I think if I dive any deeper, then I'm just lost, right? This is why I am definitely going to revisit this, because I want to understand it. I also want to dive into like reading online what other people think about it, because I'm sure that that's out there. Because like I said, it's just it's different. It's very different. Also, to be completely honest with you, sorry that I'm not showing you more of the book. To be completely honest with you, I was reading this at the same time that I'm reading Batman Adventures, which is just such a simple. It's based off the cartoon, the animated series. Like, it is such a simple read, self-contained stories that Scarecrow. I love the Scarecrow in this. I mean, even Batman, honestly, like the whole shadowy, like truly shadowy. To go from this to Batman Adventures reading them at the same time is kind of tough. Like, one of them is putting me in this mindset of like, just relax and breeze through this thing, and then this one's putting me in this mindset of like, no, this is pretty serious. Like, you need to sit here and really ponder this story and what it means and everything. So that's another reason why I think this definitely took me by surprise and caught me off guard and had me like, well, this is something definitely different. So I guess yeah, that's about as much as I can get into the story wise here. I'm not gonna show you like all the last pages, so obviously I don't want to like super spoil it, but um, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that for right now. And this is one that when I read again later, I'm gonna have to come back to this and really like think about, you know, fully comprehending and really truly enjoying it. Again, did I like it? Yeah, absolutely. But I want to truly enjoy it and love it and everything. And this is not something I would recommend to like first time readers, first time Batman readers. I don't, think so. I would recommend this to someone who's like wants to see how um, I don't know, not educated, but like how serious comics can be, how deeper they can be. This is when I would definitely recommend that to someone. But yeah, but anyway, so let's get into my biggest recommendation, but also my biggest like negative about this. If you don't have this already, and if you're interested in reading it, which again I do recommend getting this and reading it, um, I wouldn't get the trade. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I didn't know what this was. I got the trade. I didn't, I would get a hardcover, an absolute if they have one, but I don't know that they've made an absolute of this story. I mean, it's not like it's very small, so I don't know that it qualifies to be an absolute. It probably is just released in hardcover, maybe like a deluxe oversized or something like that. That's how I would recommend reading this because for two reasons, or at least two. The artwork, as again I already discussed, is absolutely incredible, and you want to be able to enjoy this artwork in a bigger format, just to truly take it all in. On the flip side, I would recommend that because this gets tough to read. I found myself, if you can see, so the font and the color of red with the little white border and outline that they chose for the Joker, it's different, but for me, I found it to be hard to read sometimes. I mean, I don't know if you imagine like you're reading this and I don't know. I'm sure it doesn't. And let's be honest, I have glasses, so I don't have the greatest eyesight in the first place. But okay, so like here's an example. You have the red and white going on in the panel, then you have the red and white in the dialogue here. And so on scenes like this, it can get tough to read. I also found that there was a lot of like, and maybe this wouldn't be great in a hardcover because it would be even worse. But like, gutter loss is the term where you start to get the words into the middle of the book. Like here's an example. So you might experience more gutter loss in a hardcover, trying to read something like that. But I still think that it would be better, A, for the art. I mean, this panel, this series of panels alone, A, for the artwork, seeing that in a much larger format, but also truly being able to read Joker's dialogue without it being, lost or convoluted or just hard to read. I really found it to be, I really don't know that it's showing up. But like I found this hard to read at times. I'm just being honest, and maybe I'm the only one that feels that way. I don't know, but this got tough sometimes where I'm having to like really look at the book like super up close. I mean, not that exaggerated, but I had to really. I struggled with it at times. Okay, and that is something for sure. I would love to know in the comments if I'm the only one that feels that way. That was like my first impression of the damn book. You got times like this where you can barely even see that. And so, yeah, that's just me. So, I definitely recommend this in a... Oh, man, this one right here. This is a spoiler, okay? This is a spoiler. Maybe. I'm going to try to hold it back so that you can't read it. But I just want you to see this page right here. Insane. Insane. The artwork, but not only the artwork, but what is happening. What happens in that moment? Wow. So, so good. That's what I'm saying. This is a great book. Great book. I just think it's better read in a larger format for starters. And I think that this is the definition of a book that you're gonna have to read more than once, probably. And for me, like, I want to do research of what do other people feel like. I did so. One thing I did see, a lot of people were saying, because I wanted to look up if there is like a deluxe or something real quick, and then I was like, I'll get to it later. But one thing I saw is that in a deluxe edition, you're gonna get whether it's, I don't know if it's like a foreword or an afterword, or if it's like the script, but basically Grant Morrison in other editions and in deluxe editions and things like that tells you more about the book. That is something I highly also recommend, because this trade in particular, it's just the story. I mean, it just starts straight off with the story, and then at the end, I think the only like bonus feature you get is I'm pretty sure that this is, this doesn't really help too much, but you get like this thing about all the characters, so Batman and Croc and all that, but that's just kind of more a crazy way of describing their files to you. And then you get this, about the writer and the artist. So that's all you get. I think in a deluxe edition where Grant Morrison is kind of able to either, whether he's straight up telling you, oh, this is what I thought for the book, this is why I wrote it like this is what I was thinking, and have him kind of explain to you what he means behind it would help me for sure. I think also maybe getting, if it's like the script, right, and it has like his notes of, this is why we're doing this here, this is what, this is meant to imply here, like, that would definitely help me for sure. So if you do not have this yet, I would absolutely say it's worth the extra money to find a copy, an edition of this book that is in a larger format, and preferably comes with some type of, deep dive from Grant Morrison. Something is better than nothing. I got nothing in here. So that means I have to now, go out there and be like, okay, what has he said about this? What do other people think about it? That kind of stuff. So, but if you don't want any of that and you want to just read the story and figure it out for yourself, then sure, go ahead and get a trade of it. But I guess that's pretty much that. Again, I want to make sure that it comes across that I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was amazing artwork. I like the story. I like what I think it's doing. I just need to read it again to fully embrace it, enjoy it, understand it, which is very important. And so yeah, it's not, I don't think that it's meant to be a one-time read. For that reason, I'm sure, I don't think you write something like this and go, everybody's gonna get this off the first try. I think it's meant to be more advanced reading, or to be read multiple times. But either way, still highly recommend it. And I would love to know your guys' thoughts below. Maybe, am I on the right track with where I'm thinking? What are your thoughts and your interpretations of it? I also want to know what people think about what I'm saying with the whole, like, it being hard to read at times maybe, and how it being oversized, and just everything. Let me know what you think about my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts on it. I really want to know on this one. I could talk about this book a lot, because I really want to know people's opinion on it. And so yeah, that's all for now. Till next time, we'll be back next week. Probably try and drop some. So my goal is to have a trade review for you every Sunday, and throughout the week, if I can make any additional content, then I will do so. Whether it be I finish an omnibus or anything else. So, but the Sunday trade thing is definitely something I want to keep going. So that is this edition of reading every trade that I own. And I will see you guys next Sunday. Until then, stay safe. Appreciate all the love and support. Comic Raider is out, baby. Deuces.